session, so that set us back. If you look at the Maccabee books, Maccabees 1, Alexander of Macedon, son of Philip, had come from the land of the Kittim and defeated Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, whom he succeeded as ruler at first of Hellas. That's Maccabees 1, line 1. Now, that's where the problem comes in. The Kittim is a general term. That means invaders from the western islands or the western seas. And it can mean Cretans, as I think it originally came from, Krita, Kittim. It can mean Cyprus. It can mean Greece. It can mean Macedonia. And it can mean Rome. Now in Daniel it means Rome. In Maccabees 1 it means Macedonia, Alexander. So, you have to flip your coin, and that's where the internal data comes in and helps you. Okay, so that's where the problem about the Kittim. Now the war scroll from Qumran, which I have not read to you, but which we will read when we get to that part of the course, that is all about the war with the Kittim, the final war with the Kittim that these people are planning in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now you say, oh well, the establishment theories of the Dead Sea Scrolls says that's an imaginary war. These people are like to imagine things and so on in an esoteric way and so on. No, that's not an imaginary war. They really believe that they're going to carry out this war. And a war of the righteous against the unrighteous, a final apocalyptic war against all evil on the earth. Now, a lot of Christians see that too in their beliefs. I told you last time, how come they thought they could win that war? What was it that could make them win that war? What was their nuclear weapon? Well, Jesus is portrayed in the New Testament and James in the early church literature as implying it. And you will see the Son of Man, based on the Daniel material, coming on the clouds of heaven with the heavenly host to render judgment and so on and so forth. I think he's quoted 2 or 3 times in the Gospels in that vein, one in the trial before Pilate or the high priest, I forget the difference, you can look it up. James is quoted that way in the Eusebius presentation based on Hegesippus from the 2nd century. Any of you who had other courses know Eusebius is writing in the 4th century. He's Constantine's bishop. He comes from Caesarea in Palestine. He organizes the church councils. He preserves some material from the 2nd century in his writings. His writings called, I think, Ecclesiastical History or History of the Early Church, if you prefer. And he preserves some writings by a writer who didn't survive, Hegesippus, who does give a picture of James in the temple before he's killed, before he's stoned, and James has the same proclamation as Jesus portrayed as giving in the Gospels. I say portrayed because these are all only portraits. We don't know, no tape recorders there. But that gives you something of what the Scrolls people thought was going to happen. But they have a slightly different view. They're in the wilderness, preparing the way, and they're in what are called wilderness camps. We'll get the camps in different documents in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And in these camps have to be totally pure. There can be no sinning, no pollution, no uncleanness, no anything in these camps. And you know why I know it's crazy? I probably told it to you, but if I didn't, I'll tell you again. Because in their view, the heavenly host cannot abide human pollution. They really believe, unlike most of us, or some of us who say we believe, but we don't go to our deaths for it, they really believe there was such a thing as the heavenly host. And when I was a kid, I think I might have told you, I used to think heavenly host. We used to read Psalms in class before the class began in school, before these were outlawed by the fair play people. Well, whatever you want to call it, the Psalms were really inspiring. We all liked them, whether they were, one religion or another. Each student had to pick out a psalm to read, and so you got to know the Psalms pretty well. So one of the Psalms was, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. And it goes on like that, and it says, who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. So I was about maybe 7 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I always thought the Lord of hosts, he was a host. He was a good host. He was preparing a table and having guests come to dinner. You see, I didn't realize it was the Lord of the heavenly hosts of the angelic army. I didn't realize that that's what was being envisioned in those. But I guess you guys probably haven't even heard that psalm nowadays, because you don't read the Psalms in schools anymore. But that was Psalm, what number? You see? 24. You know, I can even remember it now. You probably know, I know, but the rest don't know this, you know. Yeah, well, 23, of course. But 24, you know, 24, people would lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be lifted up the everlasting doors. That's, of course, Elizabethan English. I don't know if the Hebrew is quite as nice as that, but in any case, huh? Same? Loosely, yeah. And the King of glory shall come in. Who is the King of glory? Anyway, he's the Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. In any case, you probably can recite it for us in Hebrew, right? No, okay. Not yet, okay. Another day, another year. So, all right. So the War Scroll does envision this coming of the heavenly host, and so does the Damascus document, another document from Qumran, joining the camps. And the camps have to be totally pure, because the heavenly host is going to join these perfect of the way, who are going to fight this final apocalyptic war against all evil on the earth. So they got a secret weapon, the heavenly host, probably led by the Messiah. So you see, this can go into Christianity or apocalyptic Judaism. And that's where it does go. But apocalyptic Judaism got buried. Probably, if anything survived, went into Islam, which is why you get it in the Quran, you know, revived in a different fanatical way. But, you know, in Christianity it was, you could say, I guess, thankfully for some folks, yes. But not for the people in Palestine. Thankfully for some folks it was pacified, maybe, and by the Pax Romanum, which was overlaid over this apocalyptic exuberance or expressiveness. All right, let's finish this thing from Daniel so we can go and actually read the Maccabee books after the break. Where is my Daniel?